Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Call of the Night Season 2, Episode 9. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up where last episode left off, where Anko is confronting both Nazuna and Ko. And Nazuna says, right, I had a feeling, and she's even apologizing to Ko, but she's also like, I gotta apologize to the others, because we find out later on, she had an inkling back when Ko probably told her about the detective, and Kyoko was the first person that came to mind, but she didn't want to believe it, understandably so, because she says, her friend, she wanted to believe her friend was able to move, not necessarily move past that, but wouldn't spend this next decade riddled with hate, and that being her main motivation. Also kind of clues us in on how old Anko really is. So she's in her mid-20s. Because they were both Kyoko was a high schooler then, so it's and especially for Nazuna to be a decade, so it's only been that time frame, so she has to be in her mid-20s. But it's you don't want to think about your friend just spending the next decade riddled with hate, knowing that she's become this person that will kill vampires. The fact is your friend is even capable of that. You knew what she went through and what she experienced, but you never thought she would continue that hate would consume her. She had hoped she went off and had a happy life, and knowing that, especially because Nazuna is going to take a lot of that blame on herself, even though it's not her fault. It's just, you were a positive vampire in her experience, but it's also just like any situation, she had a negative run-in that came with the most catastrophic consequences, and her entire life got turned upside down. It's something I didn't really lean into last episode. I talked about it being Halloween and it was her birthday. I didn't really heavily emphasize on how effed up it is that her entire life got uprooted the night when it was her birthday, because that was because she came home they were supposed to meet 2 a.m. in the morning. So I think that must have been her. It went from Halloween until November 1st. But all that went down on her birthday. And that's got to be the suckiest thing ever. That, your birthday will forever. You spent the past decade. You're already thinking about it every day, but every birthday you have is an anniversary of your life being torn upside down. That is enough to drive anyone crazy and enough to kind of live with for this past decade. And that's just it just refuels you every day. A day of celebration is also a day of mourning in so many ways for you. And it's so effed up. And that's what I'm saying. Last episode, I didn't really lean into how effed up that is. But either way, Anko is, and Nazuna are having kind of what appears to be almost this casual conversation about, oh, how are you? He's oh, I'm good. Oh, it turns out there's some regular family living in your old place. It's yeah, most likely because of it being kind of this spooky place, everything that went down. They'll never know the full story because we don't know what Anko did in the aftermath, whether she just bounced without telling anyone anything. Because we don't know, when she left and Nazuna was still there, her mom's body was there, even though her dad's had, turned to dust, but her mom's body was still there, so it might be an unsolved mystery, and she was, she went under a new name, so she probably disappeared and they never found her. Once again, I don't know if those answers will be anything they'll ever bother answering, or those questions will be anything they'll ever bother answering. It's just kind of you can come up with your own conclusion. It's not important to the story that's being told. But either way, she asked Ko, it's yeah, I'm going to ask you again. Can I get you to walk away from this? And this will be the last time. She's I don't want to hurt humans. I only want to kill vampires. But I am prepared to hurt humans if I need to. And I think that is an important line to keep in mind for the episode, because we'll get to that later. But Ko's no, I've made my decision. I'm going to stay by Nazuna's side. And I love Nazuna just kind of all right, I have to suck it up in this moment, just take the romance of it all and just kind of look the other way and just bite my lip and just kind of hold my tongue rather, in this case. And then Anko's okay, sure, whatever. All right, that's all I came for. Bye. And now she's all right, it's Halloween, and so Nazuna then takes this opportunity to express her being sorry to everyone. In fact, she explains everything, which Siri's kind of you didn't say anything to us about any of this. Akun almost died. If depending on your answer, it's going to be how I respond. But she apologizes, and it's honestly, I didn't know like once again, once Anko first was introduced and brought up, I thought about it, but I didn't want to ever admit that. But for her, it's like I take responsibility, because even though she isn't responsible for why Anko turned in the way she did, I think there's still the element of that was my friend, that was my senpai, and when the time came, I didn't like step in to help her like I should have and I wanted to. Like maybe if I had nipped this in the bud or did something for her back then, I just didn't know what to do for her. If I did something back then, maybe we wouldn't be where we are right now. And I even love Kabura's takeaway from it. Her only takeaway was, wait, you had a friend? It's like, well, yeah. She's like, that's important stuff. You should have told me. I mean, it makes sense because, and so obviously she's very motivated and concerned about Nazuna's life. And so it's like, wait, any little developments in your life, I need to know. That it's like, that's such a monumental thing. Obviously, like, I owe your mom a favor and I'm doing this all for her sake. So like, I need to know like what's happening in your life, the significant things. So obviously Kabura would have that takeaway, but for Nazuna, she plans on dealing with Anko herself. In what capacity, in what way, who knows? But all she said is, I'd stop Nazuna. I mean, Nazuna says, I will stop Anko. And the others take away from it is like, yo, like, the fact is that she opened up to us. Nazuna's always been very like tight-lipped. And it's like, to be fair, and it's even something Nico says where she's smiling. She's like, it's because of she's been on this journey of self-discovery and she's a lot more open. Nazuna never really talked about herself before because she didn't. Like, I mean, that would have been something in the past she would have talked about, but she wouldn't have felt the need to. But now that she's discovered so much about herself, she's a little bit more of an open book. Like, I think if it wasn't for her learning the truth about herself, she probably would have never gotten to the point she was even comfortable enough to tell the Kyoko story to Ko in the first place. And now explaining all that to everyone else. And it's like, we've known each other for a while, but like, we don't know each other. So, but obviously the vampires have been doing all they can to get rid of their weaknesses, or at least most of them. So it's like, well, we're disarming Anko in that capacity, but it's still like, are we really, Because we heard, like, in the beginning of an episode, a few episodes back, she says, like, there's another way to kill vampires. That line in particular, I think, is why she's doing what she's doing this episode. And I think, I've got a theory on what that is. And like I said, I'll get to that later. But breaking down stuff later on, Ko is trying to figure it out because he's like, well, he's trying to think like, well, she can't do anything to Nazuna. I want to protect Nazuna because I don't want to lose her. But it's like, Nazuna's not human. She never was. So I don't ever have to worry about some human weakness being used. So, and everyone knows about the weaknesses now. So that can't happen or hurt them. But it's like, but there's got to be another way. She runs into Akira who talks about Mahiru at school. He shows up, but he's still sleeping. I think he kind of gives her the lowdown about the whole like night school thing. And so, but it's obviously it's because he's doing kind of what Ko does, the whole nightlife thing, except, well, he's actually going to school in the day, unlike Ko. So it's got to be I always forget the vampire's name. It's Kiku, right? It's got to definitely be him spending time with her. Very much, once again, the parallel to Ko and Nazuna. But it's not until he finds out it's Halloween that he's like, wait, Halloween? And now hearing the story, knowing everything that went down on Halloween, not as much that it's her birthday, but there's a lot associated with Halloween. He ends up going to Nico being like, yo, there's got to be something going on. But it's like, well, it's going to be a big Halloween party. There's going to be a lot of people in the street. So she would never do anything because there's a whole bunch of humans around. So, but it's like, hey, thank you for warning us. We'll be on the lookout. I think it's interesting too because Nazuna's like, oh, your detective skills only kick in when it comes to like hidden camera stuff, which he's like, I don't like the sound of that. And I never put that together until Anko references it this episode too. I mean, it was brought up in the flashbacks too, where it's just the whole like, the whole conversation about cheating cases and stuff like that, and that ends up being the case that she ends up getting the most. But I think it's so interesting that Anko's detective thing is like, oh, most cases I get are cheating cases, and the only time Ko's detective skills really, really kick in is when it comes to hidden cameras. So there's an interesting parallel there. But Ko was like, yeah, I thought I was on to something, but maybe I was wrong. And so it's a big bash. Everyone's in the street dressed up. He's hanging out. Ko is hanging out with Akira, and obviously Midori forces costumes on him. He's in a vampire outfit, and Akira's dressed up like a maid, and her boobs are on display. And Midori's like, yo, they're huge. And she's like, well, I mean, come on, you don't even know what I'm referencing when I say they're huge. But oh my God, your boobs are huge. And so they end up running into other associates, I don't think Akira knows that Hatsuna is a guy. Once again, just from the outside perspective, he is very female presenting. I mean, that's by choice and stuff. But I think I don't know if that was Hatsuna there. I mean, Hatsuna was there, or was that the other person that Midori works with at her cafe? I wasn't sure. No, I think it was Hatsuna. And runs into Kabura, runs into Nico and Nazuna, ends up running into Siri and Akan. And it's like, a lot of women. There's a lot of women around you. He's like, oh, really? Because he's never thought about it like that. Because the only person he's got eyes for is Nazuna, so he never really pays attention to that stuff. He's never really cared about that stuff, so he doesn't necessarily view them in that same light. So he only has eyes for Nazuna. And basically, Nazuna goes off on her own. She's drinking, and Nico's telling them just to obviously have fun. And she's a teacher, obviously, but she's leaning into the sexy teacher for this outfit. And while she's out and about, I need to circle back to the Anko of it all. There's a guy that's harassing a young woman, and Anko comes and knocks him down, knowing exactly who he is. Oh, you're 35, you're married. Obviously, the cases she works, it wouldn't make sense to cheating cases, because cheating is what led to her dad's situation, which led to the death of her mom and her dad. So it's like she's going to have she already had a very specific reason why she hated cheaters anyway, and now she has an even darker association with cheating. So she looks at cheaters as like the scum of the earth, because it's like, oh, you have a good wife at home waiting for you, and you're doing all this. Hell, even earlier in the episode, she had that gun pointed at her head, but it's like, I was like, is it actually not loaded? But then we see later on that particular gun is a lighter. But we do see later on, too, she does have a gun that actually fires bullets, too. So I was like, that's interesting. That it's like, because I think sometimes she probably thinks it would be easier just to take herself out. But it's like, no, like her hatred runs so deep that it outshines any, even though she probably does have a lot of self-destructive tendencies, like her need for revenge. And like, I think she probably won't take herself out until she kills Kiku. It's like, you're the reason, but it's also like, it probably won't stop there. She does want to kill other vampires, because like she doesn't want more victims like her family. Like, she doesn't want anyone to ever have to go through that. She's saving humans by wiping out vampires because that's her mission. But like, she has her own personal vendetta she needs to settle. So, and then Anko brings up the fact is, it's like, cool, I will let you go. I won't let your wife find out about this, but I'm going to need you to do me a favor. Now, this is where I kind of have my theories about where this was going to go, especially what Anko's next move is. She shoots Nico in the head, like right in front of everybody, but everyone thinks it's a movie, especially because Nico falls down and then gets back up. Then Siri and Akun are having this really nice back and forth of like, yeah, it's like he's still early enough in his vampire days that he hasn't actually gone hunting for his own food. I think Siri's kind of helped him out in that regard, and having that moment, oh, pick whoever you want to, and he's like, oh, I found someone cute. You're the cutest of them all. But for him, it's like, I still really like you for now, so it's like I kind of don't even want to think about feeding from someone else. And then Akun, who was like, Anko, who was initially in a mask and cape or whatever, now in a police uniform, ends up shooting Siri. Now, my initial thought was, and then I'll go ahead with my theory crafting, what that guy's role was. I thought what she was going to do is, I'm going to pretend to be this person in a mask, shoot Nico, and then run away, and then Nico's going to try and track me down, find someone in this costume, and immediately try to kill them and kill this guy. I thought that's what she was going to do. Still could play some role in the long run, but even if that specific isn't right, which I don't, it no longer is with just the way the rest of the episode plays out, but I think the end result's the same. Because you is trying to, Ko is trying to figure out, like, what is she up to for her to do such things in such broad daylight. It's nighttime, but it's such a crowded place. And once again, everyone keeps writing it off like, well, this is all a movie or whatever, so it's not a big deal. I think how Anko plans on dealing with vampires, she said there's another way to kill them. It's like, the best way to kill them is to starve them out. And I think for her, it's like, destroying their anonymity. Vampires are believed to be make-believe. No one knows that they're real, and because of that, humans are on the lookout for them. They're there's such disbelief about them that it's like you're not going to have your guard up and prepared for them. I think Anko, she even says like this is going to be, I think she even said it to Nico of like this is going to end all the nights, because I think for her it's like I'm going to basically bring vampires into the day by forcing you in a situation where you can't hunt at night, because humans are going to become aware that you exist and they're going to hunt you. Two, when humans are on guard, it's going to be impossible for you to feed, because everyone's going to be on guard, and because their whole thing is they don't want to hurt humans, and it's like without being able to kind of stealthily just drink people's blood, it drains away their so I think their food source and their anonymity, which kind of go hand in hand, I believe. I think that's how Anko plans on killing the vampires, and almost like one fell swoop, how she plans to end all the nights. It's like you can't stalk the nights because people will be looking for you, because once people know you exist, it's all out there in the opening, and there's no more like putting a genie back in a bottle. I think that's what, because especially because so many people are like around recording stuff thinking it's part of a movie, but eventually like it happened twice in the same nights. Like, oh, what's going on? That's weird. And we still don't know what that guy she got to do. She's like, what's that one favor? So it still could be what I think it is. The whole like killing him thing, and like tricking the vampires into killing him, because if they do and it gets recorded and it gets put out there, it, like I said, becomes a much bigger thing. And so he could be a sacrificial lamb for the greater cause that Anko's trying to do. Like that's been my theory by the end of the episode. Of he could still serve that purpose, or he could be there like recording all of these incidents proving that vampires exist. Like either or. Like I think he plays a pivotal role, at least a pretty significant enough role in what Anko is planning at the very least. So when it's all said and done, Aku was the first one who found her, but he couldn't even lay a hand on her. She's gotten like, because she's able to fight vampire. She knows the particular of how they fight, because she's like, oh, like, can't you guys think of something new? Like all you do is charge ahead, and all she has to do is like be pretty athletic enough, which is ironic considering like she was able to dodge all that, but then later on she's running, she's like, oh god, running's hard. It's like, well, I'm sure smoking has not helped with your stamina at all, especially with your lung capacity probably being garbage right now. But it's also probably because like it's more stamina and physical ability to be able to do it, but it's also because she could probably studied enough vampires to know how they fight. So all she has to do is predict what they're going to do and how they move, because they haven't really come up with a fighting style, because their style is so freeform, but they still follow the same guidelines of they rely on their strength and their speed. So it's like, as long as I can kind of avoid that, I'm good. So easily dispenses of him, puts a damn throws dirt in his face, puts a trash can on him, and acts like she's doing her finishing move by pushing him over, and it's like, oh, I'm running. And she runs, and I think it's so interesting, all the places she stops along the way were all the places she was with Nazuna not too long ago. The restaurant that was across from her, or diner that was across from her father's work, the little place they were at where they sat down and Nazuna told her she was a vampire. It's like, because I believe all that happened Halloween night, if I'm not mistaken, like her birthday, or was it the next night? Whatever the case may be, it's just taking a trip down memory lane like that, having to be in the same area. It's just kind of interesting. And where's the last stop? It ends up being her old stomping ground, the school. And there she goes into a classroom. It's specifically the room her and Nazuna would meet, and Nazuna's there waiting for her. It's like, I guess they both knew like, well, this will be our meetup. We both know like this is a significant enough place. Like, I guess Nazuna probably got word about it, because I wonder, did Ko call her, because Nico, Ko, Siri, and Akun were all talking about what to do about her. It's like she made such a public move knowing that vampires won't do anything against her publicly, so it's like, we're going to get her in a very isolated area and then we'll kill her. Obviously with Akun that did not work out too well, but that's their plan. And even though they have their reservations of, we don't kill humans unless we absolutely need to, so it's just kind of like how her perspective, Anko's, is, I don't want to kill humans unless I absolutely have to. So they're kind of interesting, opposite sides of the spectrum in that regard. even though they share that same mentality, they're both on different sides of that spectrum. So I think that's interesting. But I'm so curious to see what that conversation or what goes down between Nazuna and Anko in that moment, and what role Cole plays in all of this too. Because Nico asked him like, "What do you want to do?" Because they're like, "We have no choice. We have to kill her. We have to stop this." But it's like, and Cole just says, and we don't know what it is he's planning. Like I said, he might have been the one that it filled Nazuna in on, hey, she's doing something, and Nazuna knew exactly where to go, because it's like, I know one of the hot spots that she'll go, the last place she'll go to try and hide out maybe and bide her time. So we'll have to wait to see where all of this ends up taking us. So I'm actually recording this after the fact because it's literally the next day, and I'm editing the episode down and thinking about it more and more. And in retrospect, most likely the only favor she asked of the guy was probably him giving her her costume. I mean, who knows where she got the police outfit she uses later on when she's attacking Siri. But I mean, once again, it could be a thing of there could be more to it. So maybe there is another angle with that guy she got the costume from. But like I said, I was really thinking about it. It's like, maybe that's all she asked for was that costume. But I think it's still, I don't know, I thought it was an interesting discussion about what role he could play if there is more. So that's why I'm going to leave that in and not cut it out. But I figured, like I said, it was just rummaging through my mind. I was like, I could just add a comment to the episode when it actually goes up, but I was like, I might end up forgetting. So I wanted to include this where, like, to let anyone listening to this know, like, I am thinking that maybe that's all there is to it. But like I said, in case, just for theory crafting and stuff like that, I still wanted to include my thoughts of like what role I felt he could play if he does play one at all. So just wanted to throw that in there at some point at the end of the recording. So going forward into the next episode, we've got 3 episodes left this season. And obviously last season, later parts of that season, like, it was almost like, yeah, it's all like little fun and games. There's a little darkness here and there, but the last episodes are where things kind of got pretty dark, So we're tiptoeing in that territory, especially with like the last 2 episodes in conjunction with this. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the fallout of this ends up being. But I like I said, I think Anko's going to get what she wants in the end. And like I said, I believe it to be the exposure of like vampires existing, but we'll see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.